Hey, I'm Comrade Shane, and this is Juche Lessons. Today we will discuss an important socio-historical principle of Juche philosophy, that the masses of the people are the subject of social history. Comrade Kim Jong-il said, "The subject of the social movement consists in the masses of people. Without the masses, there would be no social movement itself, nor would it be conceivable to talk about historical progress." End quote. The principle that the people are the subject of social history answers the question of the subject of history, the basic question in understanding social development and revolution in the Juche-oriented standpoint and attitude. In the history of philosophy, the term subject has been used with different meanings, but the term has been understood in general as the agent of movement. However, there is a fundamental difference between materialism and idealism in understanding the agent as matter or consciousness. The term subject in the Juche idea is a new concept, meaning the agent that causes and propels social movement in an active, purposive, and conscious way. This is precisely the question on the subject of history. The answer to the question enables us to correctly discover the peculiar laws of socio-historical movement that are fundamentally different from the movement of nature. The Juche idea raised the question of subject as the basic question in view of understanding social history, and newly defined the meaning of the term. On this basis, the Juche idea clarified that there is no subject in natural movement, but there is in socio-historical movement, and that the subject is the masses of the people. In this way, it provided the basic principles to observe the socio-historical movement as the movement of the subject, and discovering the peculiar law of this movement. So now you might be asking, what does it mean that the people are the subject of social history, and why are they the subject? Usually, when people speak about noteworthy historical events or changes, they mention about the wisdom, talents, outstanding ability of heroes or special individuals, and find the basic factors in them. In these cases, the masses of the people are neglected, but this is a wrong view. Behind the historical events are plain and simple masses of people, and their creative wisdom and strength. The subject of history is not a special individual or small group, and the reactionary ruling class or exploiting class can never be the subject of history in any case. The subject of history is only the masses of people who cause and propel the socio-historical movement in an active, purposive, and conscious way. The masses of the people are a social collective formed mainly with the working people, who share common demand for independence and creative activities. In other words, it is a social collective formed with various classes and social strata that contribute to society and its development through their creative labor and struggle for independence against social subjugation in different stages of history. In this sense, the masses of the people are the collective of the people who embody independence, creativity, and consciousness, the essence of social being. And without the masses, there would be no social movement itself, nor would it be conceivable to talk about historical progress. This is the essential meaning that the masses of the people are the subject of social history. And the reason they are the subject is because all the movements of social history are caused and propelled by the masses of the people. Social movement is caused by the people's demand for independence. It is the essential demand of the people to live as masters of It is the essential demand of the people to live as masters of the world and their destiny, free from all sorts of subjugation. This demand is not a temporary demand raised in certain stages of history, but a constant one raised throughout the entirety of human history. And this demand is not raised in a certain field of social life, but raised in all fields. This is the fundamental demand. With this demand, the people cause social movement. Human history has developed from early society into slaveholder society, feudal society, capitalist society, and into socialist society. All the social movements that produce this process of history have been caused by the people's demand for independence. The slave struggle against slaveholder system, the peasant struggle against feudal rule, labor movement against exploitation and oppression of capital, and the colonial national liberation struggle against imperialist colonial rule. These movements are inconceivable apart from the demand for independence of the people, who want to live happily as masters of nature and society, free from all sorts of subjugation. The socio-historical movement is propelled by the inexhaustible creative ability of the people. In any era, it is the masses who demand for and propel the development of society. They are the most wise and powerful beings who can transform nature and society. If there is an almighty being in this world, it is none other than the masses of people. There is no other being wiser than the people. There is a limit in an individual's strength and wisdom, but there is no limit in those of the masses. Everything in society is created, and history develops by this inexhaustible strength and wisdom of the people. The people transform nature and create material wealth with their creative wisdom and labor. Some people say that capitalists are also interested in developing the productive forces and increasing material wealth. But they are interested not in social progress, but in profit and money making. They don't do creative labor to remake nature, but only exploit and oppress the workers. Capitalists call themselves producers, managers of business, but by all measures, they are no more than parasites of society. They are parasites not only in nature, but also in society, and they are capitalists. The producers of material wealth are only the working people who remake nature with their creative wisdom and labor. It is a historical fact that all the means of life and all technical means, including the ability to conquer space, are the products of the creative wisdom and labor of the people. The people create not only material wealth, but also ideological and cultural wealth. Some people think that the progressive ideology, scientific knowledge, art and literature, and other ideological and cultural wealth humanity has accumulated have been made by special individuals or privileged classes. But again, this is a wrong view. The people who observe the reality correctly can understand that all ideological and cultural wealth have been created on the basis of rich practical experience of the people, and that all the talented persons have been produced from the masses of the people, not from privileged classes. Reactionary exploiting class and privileged people produce only reactionary ideology, morality, and decadent art and literature to defend the old contradictory exploiter society and corrupt the people ideologically. Many works of bourgeois history come to mind in this respect. They oppress the creative, spiritual, and cultural activities of the people by all means. And humanity never forgets the barbaric religious judgment in the Middle Ages that executed those people who claimed progressive ideology and scientific truth. Today, it is a known fact that the so-called capitalist countries oppress freedom of ideology under the signboard of freedom of ideology. The reactionary exploiting class is only interested in maintaining and consolidating the old exploiter system. Bourgeois rulers talk about reform, but this is to cover the crisis and contradiction of capitalist society. Progressive transformation of society and the change of the old system are carried out only by the revolutionary struggle of the people who are awakened and united. Social change is inconceivable apart from the revolutionary struggle of the people. Miracles were answers to necessity created by the people, not chance given directly by the heavens. Historical experience tells that apparent miracles and innovations are created when revolutionary zeal and creative ability are fully displayed in social movements to transform nature and society. All the facts eloquently tell that the masses of people are the subject of social movement and of history. This does not deny the role of individuals in history. Individuals contribute to history this or that way according to their quality and ability. But the role of individuals cannot replace the role of the people, and cannot be higher than the role of the people. Only when individuals depend on the people's wisdom and strength can they play a positive role in history. Divorced from the masses of people, individuals cannot display talents and eventually fall into the reaction of history. Small groups also contribute to history when they join the people. This is the truth of history. And as I mentioned earlier, the principle that the people are the subject of history tells that human history is not the history of individuals, small groups, or reactionary exploiting classes, but the history of the people's struggle, and that social movement is not a spontaneous process, but the process of purposive and conscious activity. That's all for this episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, Consider liking and sharing so we can reach the people with the truth about the revolutionary Juche philosophy. Sangha and salute, comrades.